evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Flood. The granite blocks and patios that locals got used to this year are now being removed for the winter with the addition of a new winter streetscape pilot project. The City of Thunder Bay continues the reimaging of the North Core Streetscapes project, which guides the redesign of the streets in the downtown North Core. The granite blocks on both Red River Road and Cumberland Street were removed using a specially designed lift, which cleared the roads back to 2 lanes. The angle parking on the corner of Cumberland and Red River will be retained, with some of the blocks being placed just in front for their new winter streetscape pilot project, which manager Stephen Murray says will be a safe space for winter events as part of their North Core remodeling.
The entire Red River is getting redesigned to be a much more inclusive, multi-use, multimodal area with flex space or patios. So this is kind of a pilot project. There's a survey that will be coming out to the public in the next little bit. So if you check City of Thunder Bay's Get Involved page, we'll be looking for feedback to design this as more of a permanent feature.
Murphy says they don't know what will be happening in the new space as of yet, but it could host a wide variety of events. And speaking of events, a yard sale was hosted at Chippewa Park in support of the Thunderbird Wildlife Rescue, which included a guest appearance from 2 trained falcons. The yard sale ran from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in a building beside the main parking lot that had a huge variety of donated items that the public could come and purchase, with the proceeds being shared equally between Thunder Bay Wildlife Rescue and the Friends of Chippewa Park. In addition to the yard sale, creator of Thunderbird Raptor Rescue Jen Solo brought along 2 trained falcons that happily flew around Chippewa, performing aerial stunts and landing on event attendees. Salo has been pushing to use the currently closed wildlife exhibit at Chippewa, as the added space would create more opportunities for the birds.
All over northwestern Ontario, and to do it just one person with very limited space, it's been not the easiest to do. With more space, I can do so much more. We can expand so much more. We can get the medical equipment that would really aid with a lot of these birds, and maybe that at some point we can even get a wildlife vet in Thunder Bay. That would be something that would be pretty incredible.
Salo was very honored that Chippewa would help with the fundraiser and says she will be presenting the plan to City Council in midwinter, hoping to be in the new space by spring of 2022. And a town councillor in Fort Frances will not be sanctioned by the body he is a part of, following a 5-1 vote this past week. The vote regarding Douglas Judson stemmed from an investigation by the town's integrity commissioner into potential violations of the Municipal Code of Conduct. Adam Riley has more.
Douglas Judson was facing sanctions following a series of comments he had made on social media while council was receiving public comments on the proposal to change the names of Colonization Road East and West in the community. An anonymous complaint was filed by a member of the public and resulted in a 10-month-long investigation by the town's integrity commissioner. In his report to council Monday, Daryl Matson found all but one of the complaints filed against Judson were unsubstantiated, the sole exception being the councilor's reattribution of a public statement by a Flinders Place resident to a white senior citizen. Asher Honickman represented Judson and argued his client's use of white senior citizen was a form of political expression and was not discriminatory.
Whether or not you agree with him, what he's clearly doing here is calling attention to white privilege. He's saying in that comment, essentially, that that the opposition to this initiative is coming predominantly, if not exclusively, from a particular demographic.
Matson's report recommended council accept the report, sanction Judson by having him publicly acknowledge his lapse of judgment and issue a public apology, and make the report available for the public. But when it came time for council to make its final decision, members were divided.
I will not support this recommendation, not because I think that it is wrong, but because I am of the opinion that Councillor Judson will not issue a public apology.
I support accepting the Integrity Commissioner's finding and all 3 recommendations put forth in his report.
I believe Councillor Judson's behavior to fall in the minor category. I suggest that we receive the Commissioner's report with no further action.
Some members even took issue with how the process played out.
I believe all of the councillors received a with prejudice letter from Councillor Judson's lawyer. The letter contained all manner of legal threats if council were to adopt the commissioner's findings. This is before we had a chance to even read the findings.
But I too am somewhat concerned by the tone of the letters and attempts at intimidation from Councillor Judson's lawyer.
In the end, council voted 5-1 in favor of receiving the report and to take no further action. In a post to his website, Judson says he will be seeking amendments to the town of Fort Francis's Code of Conduct to fairly and economically weed out vexatious complaints and attacks on political expression, to clarify procedure, and to save taxpayers money. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Thunder Bay's city treasurer is welcoming the return of casino revenues to the city coffers. The province allowed casinos to reopen in mid-July, and they can now operate at full capacity. The city normally receives around $2.5 million a year as its percentage of local casino revenues. But those quarterly payments plummeted during the pandemic, and the city received nothing during the second half of 2020. Last week, OLG announced the city received $610,000 for the latest quarter. City Treasurer Linda Evans says that's nearly on par with pre-pandemic levels.
Annually, we budget for about $2.5 million, so that is essentially back on track, which is really welcome news as we, again, continue to prepare our 2022 proposed budget. We will now be able to reflect somewhat historical levels of that casino revenue.
Officials with OLG and Gateway Casinos have both attributed the large size of the recent payment to pent-up demand by local casino patrons caused by the provincial lockdowns. And homeless encampments continue to sprout across Northern Ontario, and among the latest ones is in Sault Ste. Marie, as a tent city has emerged on their City Hall's front lawn. The encampment continues to grow as local advocates call for more resources to help deal with homelessness in the Soo and abroad. CTV's Mike McDonald reports.
Supporters have been dropping off firewood, food, water, and other supplies at the growing homeless encampment outside City Hall. The tent started going up on Monday, and Sault Ste. Marie's mayor says he's been speaking with the demonstrators every day since. He says work is underway by the Social Services Administration Board to secure more beds for the city's homeless.
They are bringing additional temporary shelter beds online heading into the winter, so some good work's being done to address some of the concerns. That work was underway, and we'll continue with it. And hopefully we'll bring additional beds on in the very near future.
Provenzano says there has been no talk of taking down the encampment and that the city will continue to listen.
Everybody that's been here has been peaceful. They're here for a legitimate reason. There are very legitimate concerns that they have. And we are listening and being supportive.
Some of the demonstrators have said the 22 low-barrier shelter beds announced this week is not enough, and some are prepared to begin a fast this coming Monday. They say they'll keep it up until the city's homelessness issue is properly dealt with.
One of my roles as a veteran, as a leader, as a mother, as a water protector, is to be able to stand up for these issues and address them, and to speak up for those who can't speak up.
Eshkabak says she's grateful for the support shown by the community.
The community that's come out and all of the volunteers, the ones that are trained in how to do this work, they're here, they're helping, and it's so great to see. And it's a beautiful thing down here, you know, and don't be afraid to ask questions and come and visit. And this is what we do. This is what I do. We take care of each other.
At this time, one other demonstrator is prepared to join Eshkabak in her fast. Eshkabak says she's willing to go without food for as long as it takes. Mike McDonald, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
The city of Thunder Bay hosted a virtual unveiling this past week of the 2021 inductees for the Women's History Month exhibit. Each year, the City Archives team adds new women to the exhibit through nominations from the public to coincide with Women's History Month. The exhibit recognizes women of all backgrounds who played important roles in the history and development of Thunder Bay. The virtual events video featured a message from inductee Annette Pateman, a local advocate for racial and gender equality.
I think my selection is important because I hope that it will encourage and inspire other writers, other musicians from the BIPOC community to come forward and to do their art to do their writing, to do their music.
I think that diversity piece speaks to our community. It speaks to where we are as a city, and hopefully as we move forward, looking at reconciliation, looking at diversity and inclusivity. Pleased to have, Annette Pateman participate in our launch this morning, and again, pleased to have all of our inductees who've really made a valuable contribution to the city of Thunder Bay.
The other inductees this year include Rose Alice Louise Bernst, the National Memorial Silver Cross Mother of 1985, Jennifer Hunter, a gymnast and track and field athlete, former City Council member Grace Ramus, and Diane Scott, an educator and innovator in distance education. The Women's History exhibit began in 2013, and all the inductees can be found on that portion of the city's website. Join now with Kurt Black. Kurt, Woman of the Past,